Previously on Video Game Hangover.
We sort of had to put a moratorium, like no more owls, because there's no place else to put them anymore, and it's no longer sort of a cute thing. It's really just kind of overwhelming.
Oh man, look at all these owls.
Hello, citizens of the internet. Welcome to Video Game Hangover, the podcast for anyone who's got a good price on turnips in their Animal Crossing town this week. Anyone? Anyone, please? Help, please? Each week on VGH, we'll discuss the games that have been keeping us up late and break down a gaming-related topic. On this week's show, we're discussing the growing controversy around Vanillaware's bodacious new game, Dragon's Crown. That's a boob reference.
Yeah.
Did you guys get that? Bodacious. Yeah. In the Hangover this week, we're playing Ibb and Obb and Stealth Inc., and we've got updates on Mindjack and Analogue, a hate story from our Summer Backlog Attack. We'll even tell you how you can win a fabulous prize by clearing games out of your own backlog. Finally, we'll wrap things up with the last call. I'm Randy Dickinson, and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hi, I'm DJ Ross, and I'm in Mountain View, California.
Hello, this is Paul Sandu from Dallas, Texas.
How's it going? How's everybody doing? Everybody good?
Pretty good. I got
Didn't
some
buy any
turnips to
turnips.
sell. You didn't buy any?
Nope.
Why not?
I'm out.
You're out.
You're out? You're
I'm
out
out.
of the stock market?
Getting out of the game.
I'm out. I'm out. That's it.
You're
I
out?
washed my hands clean of the
Did you
turnip
have
market.
a traumatic experience? Or...
Things got bloody. There were some shovels, and I'm just leaving it at that.
axes
Paul,
were
everybody
raised.
needs one final heist. If I've seen anything from
Nope.
learned anything from American films, you
Nope.
have to have one final heist.
One last job.
Right, exactly.
One
There's
last
something
dip in
buried
the turnip
behind the
market.
Sphinx in Googly, and that's all. I'm saying.
Oh dear.
Nice.
I'm still looking out for turnip prices. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
So DJ's invested this week. So if anybody's got a good price, meddly on on the Twitters and hook him up, please.
Let me know. I had good
taking a
prices
week
last
off.
week, so I'm assuming it's not going to be 2 weeks in a row. But anyway, we got some viewer mail.
That was your our weekly Animal Crossing segment for anybody still paying attention.
Yep. What were we talking about last week? We were continuing our discussion about scaling game difficulty based on this article from Zeboyd Games, which was I thought was really fascinating about whether you would actually turn off or at least turn down some of the gameplay if you preferred more of a story focus in your game. So we asked you guys over the weekend, are there any instances where you wished you could have turned off the gameplay because you would prefer to just focus on the story in a game you're playing? We actually got a nice comment from Courtney on the blog at vghangover.com saying she's playing through Final Fantasy 13, this infamous Final Fantasy 13, saying it would be nice to just be able to skip battles without having it affect your progress against boss battles. Because, if you played one of these RPGs, you kind of have to do the random encounters to keep your party in shape for when you get to that boss checkpoint, or otherwise you're going to have a bad time. Sounds like she's kind of had ups and downs with in terms of how much she was enjoying the game, and is now stuck on a boss that she can't beat because she's been rushing through the random battles trying to get to the end of the story.
Oh.
That's kind of interesting, although I'd have to ask, if you're going to just skip the regular battles, would you prefer if you could skip through the boss battles too? I don't know, it sounds like, you're definitely forced to play the boss battles, opposed to the random battles, but
Right.
I don't know.
I always want to skip boss battles.
Yeah?
There seldom do I play a video game where I'm like, oh great, there's boss battles. So
Well, that's kind of different,
it's-
though. You're talking about this any video game, not necessarily an RPG.
Right. Yeah, well, RPGs really it's kind of about those encounters for the most part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they build up to them, and I love a good boss battle personally.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the rub I'm encountering at this point in Shin Megami Tensei 4.
Nailed it.
Where I'm trying to determine what is the proper amount of random encounters can I sort of run away from, because sometimes that combat is a little tedious, and sometimes they just feel very samey. So, but yeah, I don't want to get myself to a point where I'm underprepared for some major encounter. So, yeah, that is a kind of a hard line to walk.
Have you run into a boss yet that you couldn't beat? You were underpowered for?
I don't know if they're necessarily boss, but there are definitely sort of encounters in the game that have greater significance. I don't know that I'm in necessarily.
sounds like a boss.
Sounds like a boss, right? Yeah. But it's not sort of like I am the lord of this dungeon. You all shall perish. You sort of have to work your way through levels of this dungeon under the village and under the castle, and yeah, I guess there is sort of a hierarchy, and at some points that I do encounter tougher enemies or bigger hordes of enemies, and I am trying to sort of figure out again what is the proper level of grinding to have done before I get to that point, and everything kind of falls apart.
You know what's one of the worst kind of loops you can end up getting in an RPG? When you skip a lot of random encounters, get to a boss, but the boss can't really kill you, but you can't really kill them either. So you spend like 50 minutes just kind of whittling them down with pew, pew, with the little pea shooter. That's the worst.
That little number goes up and it's like, you did 8 damage. I'm like, oh, fantastic, 8.
That's as much as I love him, that is every Yasumi Matsuno game. He's got some gameplay quirks to iron out. Oh man, yeah, I've been there. And anyway, Courtney, hope maybe you can elaborate on that a little more. Definitely a situation nobody wants to be in. But we have some responses from some of the rest of you on Twitter. Which games would you like to cut out the gameplay from? Big Maki throws this one out there: Need for Speed Most Wanted. Kind of weird choice, a racing game. Not really expect somebody to be like, oh, I only play those for the story. But apparently, I think he's talking about the 2005 version, not the most recent one. He says he wants all that sweet, sweet Razor Callahan action, but without the horribly dated driving mechanics. And encourages us to go look at some of the FMV cutscenes, which, oh man, like FMV is talking about like real actors they shot. It's that kind of game. So
yeah.
I watched a couple of these, and yeah, we'll have a link because you might want to indulge yourself a little bit.
It's weird that we're sort of in that was kind of fashionable for a little while in gaming, and then it sort of went away because it was just so hokey and poorly done. And now we're in a weird wave where there are full motion video trailers for games. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it still doesn't land right with me. It still seems real hokey and poorly produced.
It's just such a huge disconnect from the actual game. Like, what's the Xbox One Quantum Break? Is that the one where it's like half a TV show? That's just so weird.
I do think that's
pretty weird.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of full motion video, Lumps the Clown says, like to skip the gameplay in Dragon's Lair. I think that's probably the best example of this scenario.
So Lumps just wants to watch a cartoon.
Right. Well, isn't that what anybody wants to do, playing Dragon's Lair? Is that even a game that those... I
Not much
no
of
fond
one.
memories of those.
Yeah.
You ever seen somebody who's memorized how to get through the game? It's just like tick, 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 tick. They just kind of like go into that weird zone, and it's like watching a cartoon. It's really funny.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that would be a good one. Innsmouth X Shade, Cross Shade, says Ghosts and Goblins would be good. Another unusual choice. I guess I can imagine a lot of people wanting to skip the gameplay in that, though. Just trying to get to the end. My man Kenji on Twitter says, as much as I love Knights of the Old Republic 2, he doesn't care for the series mechanics, saying that he plays it yearly for the story, but would kill for simply a cinematic option or film.
That game does not get enough love.
It's apparently getting annual love from Kenji Salt.
That's crazy. I mean, I love both of the KOTOR games, and I love Sith Lords as well. I'm surprised to hear someone plays it yearly. I mean, awesome. Good on you, man, because that game does not get enough love. And the story in that game, I'll say it now, I liked it more than the original, so just throwing that out there. Yep.
And do you, like Kenji, agree that the game mechanics are not great?
Oh, they're horribly broken. The game was rushed. It's a mess. Like, just
Are they significantly worse than the first one? Because I've only played the first one.
No, but it's got glitches that can break the game, where you can get stuck in like dialogue trees and all this other bullshit that just...
Oh, really? Holy cow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's not fun.
See, you remember how everybody was just glowing about Knights of the Old Republic when it came out? And I played it and I was just like, I don't get it. And then like Mass Effect came out, and that's when it finally clicked for me, because I was like, okay, finally there's like cool gameplay to go with this story.
Yeah, the gameplay in those old Knights of the Old Republic games was pretty basic. I found it really fun. Just, the dialogue trees were primitive compared to Mass Effect, but I can see why, you didn't find it engaging, because it's pretty basic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty.
The stories are really good.
What I want to know is, since it has all those branching paths, Mr. Kenji, do you go back and play the same path every year? Do you have like a favorite path you like to see, or have you memorized all the different branches at this point? I don't know.
Can you reproduce the one that gets you stuck in a dialogue tree? Like
is that your favorite?
Those are not good, dude.
I love this part where the guy clips through a wall. I don't know. Anyway, man. We got a lot of people saying they wanted to skip the gameplay in BioShock Infinite, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
although I could totally see
interesting, DJ. I think in a week where the first piece of BioShock Infinite DLC came out, and it is more battle arenas.
Yes, it's horde mode. Oh,
because that's what we were all clamoring for from BioShock Infinite: more fucking combat.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a really weird case. So I was just asking these guys why that was. Our friend Green Captain, have not heard from him for a while. Good to hear from you again. Says he just didn't find it fun. It seemed to rip him from the narrative they're trying to build. Also, Elizabeth felt like less of a companion or character and more like an invisible robotic tool.
I agree with him on that for sure. I mean, I found the gameplay fairly engaging overall, but Elizabeth as a character felt more like a tool. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I've read so many people saying like, "Oh, it's the best NPC ever in a video game."
Exactly.
I was like, really?
I disagree.
Those people haven't played Last of Us.
Right. And then The Last of Us came out, and I'm like, oh man, what about this game?
I like BioShock Infinite, and I like Elizabeth as a character and a companion. But I think during the battle sequences, she really was not super useful. Although there were a number of times where I was down to my last bullet or my last sort of little second of health, and she would magically appear and provide me with a fill up. So that was nice, but she really is sort of a replacement for an inventory system more than anything, and that's not quite the extent to which I would like a companion character in a video game to go at this point, I think.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember having very fond memories of BioShock Infinite, and then like you said, The Last of Us came out, and they just like upstaged BioShock so hard, because that game, man, I don't know. I think I'd have much fonder memories of BioShock had it not been for The Last of Us.
Yeah.
So I try not to think about it too much, just not to do them a disservice. And then so finally, last comment. Euro Chuck Norris says BioShock Infinite should have been a point-and-click adventure. To which I don't think I completely disagree. That would have been. Yeah. I don't think it should have been an FPS, that's for sure.
I think, that would totally work. It's this weird duality in that. I mean, we liked the first BioShock, and we liked the, some of us liked the first BioShock. And what were the, tonics? What were they called in the first BioShock?
What is it? Plasmids.
Plasmids, there you go. And sort of the combination of weapon and right hand.
Oh, wait, no, tonics are... Never mind.
Whatever. And plasmid in the left. And it was fun, and it fast-paced, and it sort of worked, and you found good combinations that worked for you, and there were certain combinations that were required to get past specific areas. And by the time you get to BioShock Infinite, it just felt... I think it felt a little tired. It felt... And I don't think Infinite doled them out quickly enough, so that I was sort of in the final hours of the game, and there were still 2 or 3 to unlock, and I was sort of like... When am I going to get these? I don't know. It just did not nearly feel as sort of fresh and engaging as...
I found Infinite's gameplay way better than the first.
Did you really? Oh, that's interesting.
I don't think it's, some sort of paragon of first-person shooter gameplay, but it was engaging enough that I I actually completed the game and had a good time, unlike the first one. So.
Right.
It was the narrative I felt that it was good and bad, but the gameplay was actually pretty fun.
I was enjoying it
Simple,
by the end.
but fun.
And I was definitely there for the story in the first place. So
Oh yeah, totally.
Could
And I was in the first BioShock as well, but I don't recall having these kinds of conversations afterwards, where I sort of wished some piece of that was not present. It felt like it all kind of gelled perfectly in the first BioShock, and then I do find myself sort of in the infinite post-mortem here going, oh, if only it wasn't this way. If only they had dropped this thing. And much like Euro Chuck Norris, wondering how much better it would have been as a Telltale game, essentially. So, I don't know. It's a tough spot to be in. We'll have to see how it stacks up at the end of the year when we start putting these into best of the year spots.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a weird list, I think.
Particularly with there's so much left to come.
Speaking of what's coming up, how do you like that segue?
That was nice. That was great.
I'm in awe.
Completely ripped it open. We're working through the Backlog Attack 2013. I think we have a progress update on that coming up, but we have a big surprise for you guys this week, you faithful listeners, who may or may not have some backlog of their own that they're trying to get through. Sort of in conjunction with our project, which is to get through, 5 or 6 games by the time GTA 5 comes out. That's the grand scheme. We'd like to get you guys involved a little bit. So it's time to drag all those shrink-wrap games out of the closet and make a little pledge to get through them. Basically, we just want to get you guys on board and see who can be who can make the most impressive progress on their summer backlog before GTA 5 comes out. So how do we want to do this? We're gonna have a post on vghangover.com.
We are, absolutely.
Go there and announce your intentions.
And share the games you want to get through in the next month or so.
Yep, you'll have about 3 or 4 weeks. We'll have official dates.
Depends on
in
when
the
you
post.
get started.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get started as soon as this episode comes out, you got about 4 weeks, and you got to make sure. And this is all in the honor system too, so no thievery and cheating, no schemers.
Plus, we have eyes everywhere, so we'll know.
Sure.
But anyway, we're just looking for the most impressive backlog achievement by the end of the summer. We'll have you checking in on the blog, and we'll maybe feature some progress on the show. But anyway, by the time
tell them what they can win, DJ
comes around, the person with the greatest backlog achievement will be rewarded with the fall new release game of their choice.
Woo!
That
Hell
sink in
yeah.
for a second.
Yeah. So we will reward you for clearing games out of your backlog by giving
With a
you one
new
more
game.
game
Yep.
to put in your No, don't put it in your backlog. Don't.
Right.
Play that one too. But yeah, no, that we know, like a lot of our listeners, we're trying to hammer through some of the stuff that's been cluttering up our houses for the last several years in some cases, and we want to get our listeners involved too and help cross a few things off of those eternally growing lists. So head to our blog, commit to what you want to clean up over the next month or so, and we will reward the most impressive achievement of backloggery with the $60 game of their choice, shipped to you on release day from Amazon, courtesy of us.
Woo!
Yeah,
So get to it. Get excited.
do that thing.
Really, we're just asking you guys to play some video games, so that's not so bad, right? And then
And tell us about it.
And
Yeah.
we'll reward you with another video game.
Play games and talk to us about it, and maybe we'll give you another cool game for free.
right, let us support your habit.
Oh my. This is going dark now.
Do it, man. Do it.
Do it.
Everybody's doing it.
Come on.
Okay,
I
so
like
look for an update on vghangover.com. We'll and definitely follow us on Twitter too, because we'll be keeping you updated there as well.
Definitely. Cool. Well, so let's slide into that then, DJ. We have a couple of games each that we've been clearing out of our backlog. You've been playing Analogue, A Hate Story. Tell us a bit about that.
I have, yeah. I teased it a little bit last week, but I finally really got to dig into it. So, do you guys know anything about this? It's a visual novel, and actually, I feel kind of weird including it in my backlog in retrospect after actually having played it. Because I would say, like most visual novels, you should probably go into it expecting, or with more expectations for the story, I think. Like, think of it as kind of a short story or a novella or something like that, as opposed to, the latest video game you're going to sit down and blast through this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about it at all.
Don't know anything. Okay, so just a little backstory. It's by the creator of the games. Her name is Christine Love. She has a history of putting together these visual novels. And it's interesting because she says her approach is when she's creating these, she thinks of herself as a writer first and a game designer second, which, as you can imagine, it's kind of unique to the visual novel genre.
Sure.
So anyway, after you have your kind of expectations tempered and can get into it, I had a really good time with it. At this point, I played through it about 1.5 times. These visual novel games kind of lend themselves to multiple playthroughs just because there are all these plot branches you can explore. But it's really cool. The premise is you are an intergalactic salvage worker or something. Not a salvage worker, but anyway, you're given this mission to go investigate this colony ship that has gone out of contact with the government of Korea. And you hack into the computer and read through the log files and talk with some of the shipboard AIs to figure out what happened to the ship. And in the process, you kind of get involved in unraveling all these mysteries, or what happened to the characters on the ship before they lost contact with it.
This sounds an awful lot like the beginning of Dead Space. I suspect it goes in a very different direction.
Yeah.
In fact, this sounds like the beginning of every sci-fi movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, so the way it's presented after that point is really interesting because you just... it doesn't sound incredibly exciting as I'm describing it because essentially you play the entire game reading through these old log files of shipboard correspondence. And that is the visual novel element of it. Where does the interaction come in?
Where's the game? Solve puzzles or something?
Well, it's interesting because it's each of the log files is presented to you kind of in a non-linear order. So you start out with these weird kind of random puzzle pieces, and then as you read them, you present them to the AI that's active, and you're like, oh, what do you think about this? And they'll maybe give you a little more insight. They're like, oh, if you want to learn more about this one, here are a few more log files I found, and then you'll get more of these pieces to it. Again, out of chronological order, so it's kind of like it really lends itself to playing through it a second time. Just so by that point you've kind of pieced together everything that happened.
Oh, so you know where it's going, and you can sort of retrofit it a little bit.
Yeah, and there is some interaction. I don't want to give away too much about it because it's really interesting the way they do it. But in some instances in the game, you have to drop out to the the computer terminal and enter in these commands to activate different processes on the ship, and copy either log files or the AI programs back and forth between different memory banks.
Is this on PC or what?
It is. It's on Steam.
Okay.
Yeah. So by the end of it, you've learned all about these different characters, and actually, it gets surprisingly dark in places. There are a lot of themes that come up that I just have not run into in a lot of video games because, it's not going for AAA mass appeal or anything. So they've crafted a pretty fascinating story. What else can I say about it? It's I quite enjoyed it.
Well, I guess that was my question for you. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Because it sounds difficult to describe, and I get that you're being sort of intentionally vague so as to not to give up some of what the experience is like. I'm intrigued by visual novels because I like to read and I like to play video games. But I have found that I generally don't like reading a lot in video games.
Yeah. I would not think of it as a video game. It's more of it's tough because you don't really just sit down and read everything in order. You can pick the order in which you go through all these old journal entries.
It's an interactive novel.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Cool.
It's a little off-putting to get into at first because most of the characters in the game are kind of Korean descent, I guess. So you have to deal with a lot of Korean names, and there's a lot of like politics and kind of family relations going on. So you have all these characters talking about these other characters in this language that I'm not really familiar with. So honestly, the names kind of blend together. So you may spend a little time at the beginning just trying to sort out who everyone is. But after a while, you once you are familiar with everybody, it's much easier to follow. And no, it's really interesting. If you're looking for, if you're interested in checking out a visual novel, if you think something like that may appeal to you, then I say definitely check this one out.
DJ, is there anything that we've played recently that you would say this is sort of comparable to, or is it sort of utterly unique? Because I'm getting 999 in my head.
Yeah, you could go with 999. 999 definitely had a heavier gameplay focus to it with all the the puzzle rooms and everything.
Right.
There's not really anything that gamey in this.
Okay. So it is much more focused on the characters, the story, the writing.
Yes. Yeah.
That could be cool too, though.
But as a trade-off, the story is much more. I don't know what I was going to say. Elaborate. I guess that's also true, but it, like I said, it explores a lot of themes and relationships that you just flat out don't see in any other kind of video game.
Cool.
Also worth mentioning that the sequel/DLC is out, I think, this month, and it explores an aspect, one of the most significant unanswered questions in Analogue. I think that's called Hate Plus. It's coming out later this month. So I'll probably check that out too. But
cool. Overall,
very cool. Glad to check it out.
Nice. And you're still working through a second playthrough. I
am. Well, I want to... I got through it and I had about 75% log completion, so I'd like to go back and find the other 25%, see if that sheds any more light on the events of the story.
Cool. Well, that's one off of your backlog list. Congrats.
Yeah, pretty offbeat. I mean, like I said, it's weird that it was mixed in with all these other more gamey video games, but no, definitely cool. Totally worth checking out if you're into that sort
what
of.
What is your kill-death ratio in Hanalogue?
My kill-death ratio? Did I die in it? I think you could probably die in it, but I did not.
So 0. Good job.
Yeah.
In a completely different direction, I've been playing Mindjack.
Oh dear, what happened to The Walking Dead?
I am done with The Walking Dead.
Oh, you finished it?
No, that's not what I said. I said I'm done with The Walking Dead. Yeah. Here is a property, a license, a TV show, a comic book, a video game series heretofore that I really enjoyed. And this is just not a good game. So I have no intention of digging back into The Walking Dead Killer Instinct? Survival Instinct, that's what it's called.
So good, you don't even remember what it's called.
Yeah, 4 hours. I put 4 hours into it, and I put the controller down during a load screen and went, done. I'm finished. No more.
All right, well, check one off the list.
Do I get partial credit for that? Is that how that works?
Oh, you get full credit. Well done.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So then segue into Mindjack, which is another sort of D-level. What did you say, DJ? The Metacritic rating on this thing was somewhere in the 40s, if I remember correctly.
Oh, this is just IGN's score. I think it got a 4.
Oh, okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Metacritic was hovering around that too.
Probably around there too.
Randy's slumming it this year, folks.
It's my bargain bin cleanup. But Mindjack came out in 2011. I know nothing about the folks that made it. It is a third-person cover-based shooter, which gives you the unique ability to jack into the mind, hence the title, of other people you are fighting alongside of and other enemies that you are fighting against. And there are some little mechanics that have to go into you being able to get into their brains and taking over their bodies. But it's kind of fun. I'm actually having a good time with it. It's not a good game by any stretch. It's kind of ugly. It's a little unpolished. The controls are a little janky. The cover system is sort of push X to take cover, and I find myself diving more than I want to, and turning myself around sometimes. And
that just sounds like Uncharted.
It does sound a lot, yes. I knew you were going to say that. But it doesn't quite do the things that I want it to do when I want them to do it. But it is pretty forgiving, because if you die, if you take so much damage that your character collapses, you then switch over to Wanderer mode, which allows you to sort of roam the battlefield and take over the body of any other character. And then you can use that character to heal your buddy or send a robot in or another compatriot to heal them as well. So there aren't a lot of fail states in it. You really, unless everybody that you could possibly take over dies, which hasn't happened a lot in the time that I've been playing it, you really just hop from body to body. And each character, for the most part, has different abilities, different weapons. I just recently got the ability to hack into these sort of like killer robots that you can use. There's one called the Gunwheel, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a gun with a wheel. And the wheel just spins, and you can point the little gun at bad guys behind cover and shoot at them. So, yeah, it's silly, but I'm having a good time with it. It's infinitely more enjoyable than The Walking Dead was. There's an online mode which allows other people playing Mindjack elsewhere in the universe to come into my game and take over bodies of different characters and stuff like that.
I think I heard about this.
Or I can do that as well. It's called hacker mode. I can go into other people's games and take over characters in their games and play either against them or with them.
Have you tried to do that? And then it's just like, there are no games.
There are no sessions to be found, yes. Oh, I have not been able to find anyone else in the known universe playing Mindjack the same time as me. Which is not surprising. Bad, actually. It is unfortunate, yeah.
And it sounds a lot like Demon Souls or Dark Souls kind of twist on multiplayer.
Or what I'm sort of expecting from Watch Dogs, where you can kind of go in and take over cameras and control the traffic cameras and stuff like that, and kind of grief other players.
As a project, maybe we can all get a copy of Mindjack and start jacking it up. Yeah, throwing that out there, guys. I jack you, you jack me.
Let's all do that. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to play more of it. I'm having a good time with it. I kind of dig it. I like a mediocre third-person cover-based shooter. I will play pretty much anyone if it has a reasonable hook to it, and Mindjack totally does. It's a lot of sort of like hallways and train stations. It's very sort of linear. There's no sort of hidden bounty or anything like that. There's, collect 100 of these things and get a special blah, blah, blah. There's nothing like that. It's very much sort of walk down a hallway shooting dudes. But it works. Hey, $10. I'm in. It's fun.
I'm glad you're having a good time, man.
Yeah.
After Walking Dead, you deserve it.
Me too. So yeah, I think it certainly benefits from low expectations, but those expectations are certainly being met, and
wonderful. Glad to hear it.
Right. Whoever, I don't even know the name of the developer, but somebody right now has a Google alert going off. It's like somebody's talking about Mindjack. Oh my god.
You're making somebody's
doing
day.
A happy dance.
Right, exactly. You're welcome. Paul, what have you been playing? You are not working your way so hard through the backlog, but
okay, yeah,
you're playing an interesting new release.
Yeah, so far I am the Randy of 2013. Sorry, I have not touched my backlog yet. I am so sorry that I'm dragging us down here, guys. So yeah, no updates in the backlog. It's still fresh in the shrink wrap.
Not dragging us down.
What's
You're dragging
the first
yourself
one on your
down.
list?
Spec Ops still on.
Spec Ops. Oh, you can play that. Okay, never mind.
Oh, I know. I can play it. I just whatever, got a lot going on. However, I did find time to play a new PSN title that came out tonight, actually, that we're recording the show. Randy, you mentioned Ibb and Obb, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. It's part of the PSN Play, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't know.
That's exactly what it's called,
special,
actually.
Is that what it's called? Okay. Perfect. So, nailed that.
Good job.
But I had no intention of playing this game or, anything like that. But last week, I said, oh, this is that game Randy was talking about. I watched the trailer with my wife and fell in love with it immediately. And And I gotta
Isn't
say,
this like the same story leading up to Project Cross Zone? You're like,
maybe.
this game came out. I had no intention of playing
Yeah.
it. By the way, I'll never play Spec Ops: The Line.
Right. Yeah, I guess there is a kind of a common thread here. But hey,
man.
at the very least, my first impressions of Ibb and Obb, this game is awesome. It's a co-op platformer, puzzler, I guess. I've only spent about 60 minutes with it right now, but holy shit, this game it's awesome. Like there's no instructions. You just kind of get thrown into the game and you have to, muddle your way through it. And it's got so many little hooks to it, similar to, the way Portal co-op would play out. It's like there's a lot of similar things in that regard. In order to traverse some of the puzzles, you have to come up with creative solutions working with your teammate to solve them. And even within the first hour, I'm already starting to get like a Portal / platformer type of vibe, and it's been great so far.
Cool.
So what are you doing in the game? I'm guessing you're not shooting portals back and forth.
It's a straightforward platformer, and there are some mechanics I'm not even sure like what's going on. Like as I'm traversing the levels, there's these little yellow things that are kind of rolling around, and they must be worth something, or they must have some sort of value because you can step on them and squish them and they die, and I don't know what's happening with these things. Little yellow balls rolling around, like little mini Pac-Mans, I guess. But
Well,
it's just basic.
like, are you throwing switches? Are you like helping each other onto ledges? I don't know.
Well, the game has gravity elements. Let's just say, think of a horizontal line on the screen. The top half has regular gravity, and you can flip and kind of jump down to the bottom half of the screen, and the gravity is reversed. So someone can be walking upside down, and someone can be walking on the top of the level, and you have to kind of coordinate the way you attack enemies. Sometimes an enemy's weak point is on the bottom, so somebody has to take the bottom route and jump on them that way so they can open up a path with the person on top. And you kind of have to go back and forth, up and down on the levels. Just simple jumping mechanics to solve some of the puzzles and tackle some of the enemies. Just very simple things like that.
But exploiting the sort of gravity reversal to be able to... That's cool.
And one thing I think you would really like, Randy, is there are some puzzle elements where you have to basically gain momentum by let's say you jump to the bottom half of the screen and you kind of jump forward and carry your momentum so you get pulled up towards the screen, and that momentum will carry you through the other half. It's very difficult to describe. Just think about a horizontal line. Okay, you jump to the bottom of the screen and you begin to get pulled up because gravity is reversed, and there might be a little section where you can kind of go through that line and get pulled up to the top half of the screen and go over a ledge that you normally couldn't jump over. Does that make any sense?
Much like in the way that you would use sort of portals to build momentum and speed to be able to reach super high out of reach places and ledges. That's cool.
Exactly, and that's really cool how they implemented something like that in a 2D platformer. And you can also stand on each other's heads and kind of, do a double jump type thing to traverse things. It's very interesting, very cutesy.
Also just like Portal. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I'm just telling you, it has a Portal vibe to it. It's really weird to describe it that way, but that's exactly that's the vibe I got right away.
Fun.
I just thought of that game V, where you're like flipping gravity back and forth.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhat similar.
Yeah, and you can use the gravity mechanics to gain momentum and traverse puzzles, and you have to really make sure you're paying attention to the way you're doing it, because you can die very quickly if you're not paying attention to the way gravity will switch, and you may end up getting pulled towards an enemy, and boom, you're done. And if one player dies, you both die and have to start back a few seconds ago. So that's very interesting. You really have to look out for each other.
You guys are doing couch co-op, but I assume it has online co-op as well, right?
It looks like it does, yeah. And I'm not sure if the game has online voice chat or anything like that, because there's this weird little communication system built into it where you can kind of like draw lines of where you want your partner to go. It's really difficult to describe.
Oh, cool.
It's kind of abstract. But I think when you use the right analog stick, you can draw little patterns on the screen, little lines, and you can tell your partner, okay, without speaking, I need you to do this, or I need you to do that. And I think that's how it works. I haven't played it online, but I'm looking forward to going back into the game. It just came out of nowhere, and it's very fun.
Nice. $10 too.
Yeah, and you definitely play it with a partner. I've heard that when you play it solo, you have to control 2 characters with 1 controller. doesn't really sound like a good time.
I'm sure in a month there'll be somebody will have a YouTube video up of them playing through the entire game, just like speed running on one controller.
All of Ibb and Obb in 8 minutes. Yeah. Cool. Well, that sounds like fun. I will. It's definitely on my check it out list, and I think the play promotion's nice because you get some money back if you buy multiple titles. So
right, yeah.
I already bought. What was the first one? I bought something. Oh, Stealth Inc.
Yeah.
Which I promised I'd talk about this week on the show, but we're running a little late on time, so I am going to bump that into next week's show.
Okay.
So,
shall we get into the heart of this week's show then?
Yeah,
real
I think
quick?
we should. Paul, you want to lead us down that path?
Okay, I will awkwardly lead us down to the path of our discussion here. For those of you who don't know, there's this little game that just came out this week called Dragon's Crown, and this has not been on my radar at all. I couldn't give a crap about it. But there was some controversy.
Until now, apparently.
Until now, because
Hopefully.
That was the awkward part, right?
well, there's some weird controversy surrounding this game. If you haven't played it, if you don't know anything about Dragon's Crown, you can simply Google it. But just a quick description: it is a side-scrolling beat 'em up. With
you
RPG
could listen to some
elements.
other podcasts where they talk about it.
It's kind of like a Guardian Heroes or Castle Crashers, whatever. But the controversy is surrounding the artwork. It is an overly sexualized game with women with giant breasts, giant butts, kind of tying into last week's show a little bit there. But it's like a basic side-scrolling beat 'em up game with crazy, overly sexualized artwork. And there's been a big controversy surrounding that. People are saying it's bad for gaming, blah blah blah. And I just thought, do you guys even want to play this game? First of all, I mean, do you know anything about it?
From what I've heard, it sounds pretty cool. I mean, just gameplay-wise, just speaking strictly about the gameplay. No, it sounds like I know the dude designing it. He worked on those Capcom Dungeons and Dragons arcade games, and some stuff on the PS2 that got favorable reviews, which unfortunately I never tried. But no,
Odin Sphere and Grimoire.
Yes, and then Muramasa, I think, on the Wii, and
recently come to Vita as well, yes.
Yeah, but that kind of stuff, the company is very well known for their 2D art style, so that's also nice. This is the first one I think that's reached this level of controversy.
Yeah.
Because of the character designs.
Which seems to be kind of a mainstay in their artwork throughout the series of games that they've produced, although it does appear to be, and we should say that I've not played this game. None of us have played this game,
no.
So we are going completely on Internet Fury, YouTube videos, and our interpretation of screenshots, basically. But it does seem to be much more exaggerated in Dragon's Crown than it had been in their previous games. So, like Paul said, the women in the game, there are two female characters. There's a witch and a Amazonian.
Amazon, I think, yeah.
Who have extremely large breasts and extremely exated buttocks. I think it might be the first time
we mean extreme.
Right, yeah, like ridiculous, like gravity defying. Like boobs bigger than their heads. And that's not an exaggeration. That is actually
it's very heavily stylized.
Yes. Yeah. But it is stylized in such a way that the reviewer from Polygon, whose name I can't remember right now, took some objection to the way that women were portrayed in the game, and made a point of saying that the two characters that we're describing here were actually very strong, could easily lay waste to rooms full of bad guys. But there are additional female non-player characters in the game who are basically sort of sex receptacles, who have sort of legs spread and giant boobs everywhere, and it's really not a positive depiction of women in gaming at all. Right?
Yeah,
right.
No, I think that's basically the long and short of it. And the game it was never on my radar to speak with. I mean,
You've made that very clear, Paul.
Yeah, like it's just kind of funny because I saw the artwork, I heard a little bit about it. I'm like, yeah, side-scrolling beat 'em ups. I kind of like them, but that was it. I just kind of dismissed it as something that's just not up my alley. More of an adolescent type of something I might have liked when I was 14, so to speak. Right, I'm a little bit older now, so it just doesn't appeal to me. But I found it offensive in some ways, but in some ways I just kind of thought of it as just, just a TNA type of spectacle, and I couldn't care less past that. But for some reason, a lot of people are just furious over the Polygon review. It was scored 6.5 out of 10, which is not bad, but people were furious that it got a quote-unquote low score, and they were saying silly things like, well, it got a low score because this woman reviewer, her sensibilities were offended, right? Instead of, saying, well, maybe she didn't like it because she found the gameplay kind of repetitive and the artwork did offend her. Why is that not a valid point?
All right. I think there were a lot of points in the review beyond the depiction of the women in the game that led to that score. I thought it was a perfectly valid score, and that she substantiated it with game content. I don't know if I'm necessarily in agreement with the folks who are questioning her perspective and her gender in the analysis of this game. I think that's it should be moot, anyways, but clearly it's not. The game doesn't necessarily appeal to me. I don't play a lot of side-scrolling beat-em-up kind of games. The artwork looks cool. I mean, when I first saw screenshots of it, I saw the first trailer of it. It's hyper-stylized. It's very sort of, hand-drawn kind of graphics and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, there is that sort of ridiculous exaggeration of the female anatomy that just sort of breaks the whole thing for me, that it just seems so unnecessary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It goes a little too far for you.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, not to the point where I would cry that it breaks the game, because clearly I have no idea if it breaks the game or not. I've not played it. I'm not going to play it. It doesn't make me any more or less compelled to play the game. But it just seems like, why? I think clearly the Vanillaware folks know that they have a market for this. They know that they are going to generate a little controversy and a little dialogue about a game that maybe could use a little controversy and dialogue. But it just seems so, in 2013, why do we have to have great big giant titty girls in video games?
Yeah, it is kind of an awkward time for it to come out, and especially in the last year, we've seen a lot of discussions about gender roles or portrayal in games
and stuff. Yeah,
right. Yeah. So it's and also this has been in development for quite a long time, so maybe just unfortunate timing.
Yeah, there's that too, right? But yeah, there's a part of me that sort of wonders why. Like, what is the motivation? Why, and who am I to question an artist if this is how you want to? If this is your what's the word I want to use? Your visualization of women, and this is how you genuinely believe women should be portrayed in games. You are entitled to make this product.
Because you look at the artwork from their previous titles, it has a similar style, but I don't think that the women were overly sexualized in the way it is in Dragon's Crown. Like, it had the same style, but the depiction of the women in those games, it did not seem to be so out of sorts like it is in this title. So I'm not sure what the motivation behind that was. Maybe it was just simply to get, controversy or get buzz surrounding an otherwise mediocre game, or to stand out for whatever reason, good or bad. I don't know.
Or maybe it's just an artistic flair that they chose to indulge. Yeah. Of the three of us, I would say that DJ, you're probably the sort of the resident artist of the group. If not to put you on the spot, but I mean, you have an artistic style that you continue to go back to because it's kind of in your wheelhouse and you feel comfortable to play depicting characters and creating in that way. I mean, is that valid?
Well, I gotta say, I gotta give him props. The artist's name, I believe, is George Kamatani.
There you go.
For being just putting it out there, deciding this is the kind of game I want to make. These are what I want to have the characters look like, and that's what we're gonna do.
Sure.
I think that's great that he has the freedom to go do that. And the character designs look great, stylized style. Word, I don't know. The degree of how stylized they are aside. But I don't know. That the designs themselves don't really bother me. I've heard it I think it may just be part of his personality though, it sounds like he may have added some other elements to the game that they're probably a little misogynistic. I haven't played it either, so I can't really speak for these firsthand. I'm just going off what other people say. And of course, at this point, everything is completely colored by, whatever that writer is bringing to their review. But I don't know. I mean, if it does sound like it's kind of towing the line on what is pure like artistic direction, and then what is maybe treading into areas that will start to offend people.
Right. I think it does sort of border on, it appears to anyways, to me, adolescent titillation.
That's the way I see it too.
Some of the stuff I've read sounds a little juvenile, like some of the stuff that you actually see in the game.
And it's the perspective that I've always had on the Dead or Alive beach volleyball games. Where, it's jiggle vision, essentially, where you can tweak the mechanics for how, the duration and extent to which their boobs bounce. And that just seems silly to me. And
but that's it. You dismiss it as silly at that point, though. You're not offended in any way. Right?
Yeah, and I don't necessarily go to the point where I wonder if it's damaging to the perception of games. It's damaging to the perception of gamers. If it's damaging to the perception of the depiction of women in games.
Yeah, because obviously that is kind of a hot button topic these days, the depiction of women in games. But at the same time, a lot of mediums have men and women, portrayed in very exploitative ways. So I don't really get offended by. I mean, I'd be more offended by shitty gameplay than shitty artwork or funny artwork. Really,
that's valid, frankly. Sure.
Right? Like the artwork, it doesn't offend me. I think it's silly. But I don't know why people... I mean, I guess I can understand why people are getting offended, but maybe they need to lighten up, because it is just like a pure adolescent fantasy. It may not appeal to you. It certainly doesn't... I don't think it appeals to anybody here, but there's nothing wrong with it, per se. It's just kind of stupid.
Right, and I think it's valid, though, to call it out. I think it's important to cry bullshit when you see and smell bullshit. And I guess I'm not saying that Dragon's Crown is necessarily bullshit, but I have to believe.
I mean, they're within their right to have this reaction to it.
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. But I think we can do better. I think that gaming is very heavily skewed towards the depictions of white males and the wish fulfillment and the fantasy fulfillment of white straight guys. And clearly Dragon's Crown seems to be an exercise in that. I think we say that, there's a lot of hubbub lately over the depiction of women in video games. I think there should be more hubbub over the depiction of gay people in video games, of Hispanics and black people in video games. And as more and more games come out and the more that we sort of cry, geez, that's weird, you can't play as a woman in that game. Why is that, Rockstar? That maybe it will get game developers and game creators and writers to produce product that is more representative of the people who actually play games, rather than, the straight white male majority.
Oh, I think that was very well put, Randy.
Thanks.
I have my moments. How much I can add to it. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Did I effectively kill the conversation?
No. I don't think so. I just think there's enough room for enough garbage out there, too.
Yeah, I mean, and some going back to the Polygon review, I think a lot of that is just the worst parts of the internet, in particular the gaming community, coming out to express their dismay with
sure,
because somebody didn't agree completely with how they think they.
I was really disappointed with the comments on the Polygon review, because usually the level of discourse on Polygon is better than most, but then we had people saying, oh, the only reason the game was scored so low is because a woman reviewed it, and I just threw up a little in my mouth when I read that. That was very insulting. Far more insulting than this artwork, in my eyes.
So we should give her the writer credit here. Her name is Danielle Reindow.
Yeah.
And we'll put a link to the review in our show notes, and we'll put a link to her Twitter. If you like her perspective on Dragon's Crown, if you certainly like her perspective on the depiction of women in video games, the depiction of anybody in video games, get in touch with her and let her know that you appreciate her work. She's taken a lot of bullshit on Polygon from, I think, a vocal minority of gamers in the last day or so. And if you're on the other side and you think she's doing good work, or at the very least portrays a valid perspective that should be out there, then let her know, please.
I think it's worth mentioning, I don't think I talked about it before, but actually a lot of the significant characters in Analogue are female, and the game deals a lot with kind of expectations, like gender expectations, and what happens when you find yourself in a society where those do not meet up with your own personal expectations
really?
and what you deal
That's
with
cool.
that. So really, really pretty fascinating. So maybe if you want to break from the giant boobed sorceress and stuff like that, you want a little more mature take on kind of discussion. I don't even know if it's appropriate to group it in with Dragon's Crown, but
No, but I see what you're saying.
definitely
Counter, sure.
the opposite side of things.
It's an opposite approach.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's valid. All right. Anything else you want to say about Dragon's Crown before we tie a bow on this thing?
I thought it was kind of interesting that someone from Atlas PR commented on the Polygon review saying they wouldn't change a word and they really appreciated Danielle's approach to her review. So there is that. Food for thought.
Cool. And Atlas is the publisher, presumably.
They're the publisher of the title, yes.
That's the whole point in doing a review. Just put your opinion out there. It's not like, well, this review is faulty because it did not receive this score.
But I thought that was really good of them to do that, though, because
Yeah,
they saw
yeah.
that there
I'm
was
just
a
saying, like,
shitstorm brewing.
The Atlas guys get it. The general population of the
Right.
internet, not so much.
No. Well, I think the general population hopefully gets it, but I think
Well, I mean, maybe the crowd that came out in the Polygon comments.
right. They're what I've been calling the vocal minority. They're essentially the Tea Party of gaming. And he ties it back to politics.
Oh, you had to do that, didn't you?
It's not even an election year.
I know, really. Come on, give me a break. Cool. All right. Well, hey, that was an interesting conversation, Paul. Thanks for bringing that up. So let's get into the last call. Before we say goodnight, we've got time for one last thing. TJ, what's your last call this week?
A bit of sad news. I found out over the weekend that Game Center Arcade in San Mateo opened up a couple years ago, about 2.5 years ago. Announced they will be closing in September on the 22nd.
Oh, no.
That sucks.
After many great weekends. I spent quite a lot of time there playing, whatever they've got on tap, hanging out with some Monster Hunter people. But no, it was quite. It was a shock to me when I read it, and I'm sad to hear that they won't be around for too much longer. But I think they have some, events planned leading up to their eventual closing. We'll have a link. You can check out their Facebook page where they coordinate a lot of that stuff. But very sad to hear. Hopefully, maybe the owner will set something up. Let us know what his future projects are. But kind of sad. Like the whole Neo arcade revival we saw in the Bay Area a couple years ago with Southtown and Game Center kind of winding down in 2012, 2013.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. So that's disappointing.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. So yeah, where's it? San Mateo, California, or if anywhere near there?
San Mateo, yeah. We got a link on the website. We'll have it again in the show notes.
Cool. And you did a scene report from there at one point in the past, didn't you?
We did. I should post that link again.
You should.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, I want to talk about another cool sort of gaming get-together. This is the BitGen Gamer Fest. It's in Baltimore, Maryland, which is not too far from me. Saturday, August 10th. So if you are listening to this show on the day that it comes out, it is this Saturday, this coming Saturday, at a bar club place called Ram's Head Live. The BitGen Gamer Fest is an all-day gaming and chiptunes music festival, 10 artists.
Nice.
And they've got tons of classic and modern consoles with all kinds of different cool games, all set to free play. So I think it starts at noon or 1 o'clock. For like 10 hours, you can listen to awesome bands playing video game-inspired music and play all the video games you want. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Sounds awesome.
I have a heterosexual life mate I have to talk into going to this thing. But go. If you're anywhere near Baltimore, if you're within a 2 or more or less hour drive, go there to the BitGen Gamer Fest. I'll put a link in the show notes. It's this coming Saturday. The folks that do organize MagFest, the Music and Gaming Fest in DC every year, have put this other little thing together, and it sounds like a blast. So, if you're anywhere near Baltimore, go do this thing.
Cool.
Yeah. Paul, do you have a last call?
No.
No.
Yeah, just had to call me out last, didn't you?
I heard about this new game called Dragon's Crown.
So yeah, guys, I'm going to be playing Dragon's Crown, and I'll be live streaming it this week. No, I'm not going to be doing that.
It's got like online co-op and everything, right? I mean, it's just like those D&D games.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's an incredible game.
I still want to play it at some point.
I got like a Trine vibe. Trine with more boobs.
Trine with more boobs.
Something you can play on your Vita.
Oh, that's
Anyway,
true.
that's
Yeah,
enough
you can play it on
Dragon's
both, yeah. All right, so if you have questions or comments about anything we talked about on the show, we are VG Hangover on Twitter. We're also VG Hangover on Facebook. Like and follow and all that fun stuff. Or head to our blog at vghangover.com and let us know what's on your mind.
Look for that the contest post, I think, going up on Friday. Friday sounds good.
Yeah, Friday sounds like a great day.
Get your backlog entries in there and hopefully win a cool new game.
Yep. All right, thanks for listening, everyone. And in honor of Game Center and arcades everywhere fighting to stay open, we'll finish off this week's show by mentioning an arcade game that we love. So this has been the Video Game Hangover podcast. I have been Randy Dickinson. And my, favorite? Probably one of my favorites arcade games is Q*bert.
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 Good choice.
That's going way back, but I remember playing a lot of that at
That's
Tilt.
a good one.
Yeah.
I'm DJ Ross, and I got to give a shout out to Space Lords, which is, it never made it home, I don't think, but that was a good time.
Awesome, and this has been Paul Sandu, and I'm going to give a shout out to Arkanoid and the Roly Roly Bolly Bolly.
Nice.
I remember that it was like a bocce ball, right? That was sort of embedded in the cabinet. You kind of had to gently roll it along to play arcade. It was good
Can
stuff.
you do that at home? Hell no. Arkanoid for life.
There was a paddle. Yeah, I don't remember ever having a ball, though. Yeah, Arkanoid, good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. That wrap it up, right? Done?
Yeah.
Stick a fork
That's
in
it.
Say goodnight.
Thanks for listening. Have a good one.
Bye.
You've been listening to Video Game Hangover. Send your questions and topics to us on Twitter at VG Hangover, or leave a comment at vghangover.com and we'll feature the best stuff on a future episode. This week's music is by Disaster Piece from his original albums Rise of the Obsidian Interstellar and Level. Find these and more at disasterpiece.com. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.
If you're listening at this point of the show, you'll notice DJ's not here. DJ is mysterious.